Hey guys, how's it going? It's Pat from Pat's Brewery, and I'm going to tell you 5 things that I don't think you should be buying. So, this is for the new to home brewing people out there. Anyone that's been brewing for a long time, they will have already learned these lessons and they won't need to watch this video. So maybe skip if it's you that I'm just talking about there. So this video, purely for if you're new to home brewing and you're thinking, okay, what sort of things should I not waste my money on? This is the video. Okay, so where to start? So with a lot of these things, I don't actually have the item anymore that I'm going to tell you not to buy, but I'm going to have something that is representative of it. The first thing is these plastic kegs. Now this is actually a king keg, which if you're going to go with a plastic keg, these are the ones to get, although I would suggest getting a top tap, not a bottom tap, if you've got the choice, just because that way you don't have the gravity pressure as well as the carbonated pressure within there. But no, the plastic kegs that please try and avoid getting are, I kind of call them the Wilkinson's kegs, because that's where I got mine from when I first started. But you'll see them in a lot of homebrew shops. The cap, I mean the king keg ones are good because the cap is actually big enough for most people to get their hands in. You can give it a wipe round with a sponge and bits, but when the cap's so small, you're purely after a you jet it with your hose, or you throw in your cleaning solution and you might get things clean in there, but there's no real guarantee, and it's just a big old waste of money and time, because the product that you get out of there just isn't up to standard, not compared to what you can get when you go either onto bottles or even corny kegs, which is what we're currently running off of. So yeah, first thing to avoid are plastic kegs. Try and stay away from them. They look kind of cool, especially when they're not dirty. I mean, this one's been in the garage for a while, and I think they do have their place. Maybe if you was using it for more of, I'm going to insult some cider people, but maybe you could get away with a cider in there or something like that. But I just don't think that beers hold up any sort of quality control in there. Even when you've got, you can get carbonation capsules to top up the carbonation in there. It's just not worth it. So first thing, plastic kegs, don't go near them. That's number 1. Number 2. Now, I know I just said do bottling, because better than the plastic kegs, and 100% do stand by that statement that bottling is probably the first thing that you want to be doing. But personally, I think that people need to be realistic about number of bottles that they're going to be producing at any one time. And mistake that I made, again, nice and dusty, but here is a bottle drainer. So the idea being is you clean your bottles and you stick them on here and they rinse and they dry. Now, nothing wrong with this product in itself. It does what it needs to do. But this is a 60 bottle holder. When I was doing bottles, I was only doing 5-gallon batches. That's at most you're talking what? So if you 40, they say 40 pints. Now, that means you need at most 40 bottles, at 500 milliliter bottles. So why on earth have I got an extra 2 up there? You can at least get this down to a little bit smaller, a little bit more compact. And my biggest issue with this is that the size it is, and it just takes up space that you don't always have that extra room for it. So get the 30 bottle one, I think they sell, there's just no need. Or yeah, if you are going to get this, just get rid of the top two or something. Or I don't know. Think of better storage. I just find it always in the way. So don't go with this. Try and avoid it. Number 3. So for number 3, I've kind of got 2 items here. One of them is literally a stainless steel dog bowl with some holes I drilled into it, and the other one is this false bottom. Now these were false bottoms that I tried to create for my original mash tun. So it was a cooler mash tun, wasn't exactly the widest in size. Now this one I will specifically call out as why, you know, if you see it was advertised as a domed filter for your mash tun. Now that is not domed. It is bent. Yeah, it's bent like that, but it is not. It's definitely not domed, and it just didn't really work within the mash tun. Now, to be fair, anything that is only what, maybe talking 8 to 10 inches in diameter, it's not going to have the greatest domed volume. And maybe if you was using a igloo cooler for your mash tun, you know, the circular ones, maybe if you had something to just hold that up off of the bottom and it kind of met all of the edges nice and neatly, then it would be fine. But when you're trying to fill that just into a bottom of a wider cooler, you know, it really isn't any good. This one here, this is when I attempted to make effectively what I wanted that to be, a proper domed filter for my old mash tun. The issue came with the amount of time and effort it was. I mean, it took me hours to do the holes that I've got in here, and I think I burnt through 3 drill bits to get this done. Stainless steel is surprisingly hard to drill through, even when it's relatively cheap. So if you think I can just do that, well, be prepared to spend a bit of time and money on drill bits if you are going to do this. It had potential, but I'd say try and avoid it. Anyway, the main one is this sort of kind of very small false bottom. In reality, it's not that you should necessarily avoid this, but make sure that when you are buying things like these, you know, normally you're buying them online, get a little bit of more of a review, and just think that when you are looking at the pictures, because the picture for this was perfectly domed, but it was of the larger size. So the larger size one would have been much better with regards to having some form of doming. So that's number 3. Kind of, you know, it's more of a an awareness piece rather than a don't buy. But you know, just be aware of what you're actually buying when you are, or what your intention is with regards to your mash tun filters. So, number 4. This brass spunding valve. Now, first of all, I know that for quite a while, spunding valves like these were the only things that you were able to get. But I bought this from eBay, mainly because I didn't know how to build one myself, and someone was selling it relatively cheaply priced. It has never worked. So, no, that's not technically true. I think it worked once. When I first got it, stuck it on the corny cake, and it did display the amount. Now, or the pressure that was there. It just didn't really give me what I was hoping that I was going to be able to use this to actually determine the amount of pressure that I'd actually put into some of my kegs because the secondary regulators on them weren't actually dialed in properly. So complete faff. And I know that I said that this wasn't too badly priced, but nowadays you can get a Kegland bow tie spunding valve, and much cheaper, and from what I've seen so far, much better quality. I mean, this one here, it's so if the that goes on your Connie keg, you can't see that. Oh, I guess technically, maybe you could, but in general, it's forced into that one position because you wouldn't want to have it, unscrewed at all because you're going to lose pressure. So the Kegland spunding valves that you can get now, so much better. Don't waste your time on these. And number 5. Now again, I only have something to represent what you shouldn't be buying. And this is the classic Superior Selection Tennessee Bourbon Bourbon biscuit and a bourbon drink. But bourbon flavouring packet. So I've got a whole series of videos where I've done some absinthe homebrew and some whiskey liqueur homebrew. Using stuff like this, you start off by just basically creating a sugar water, then sticking a turbo yeast that chews that all up and gives you around about 23% alcohol. Then if you do it properly, you apply charcoal filters and bits and pieces like that, and once you've kind of filtered it all through, you have an extremely clear and clean alcohol, still only about 23%, and then you add these flavourings. And I know in the videos that I've done, I was probably at the time going, oh yeah, this is pretty good, yeah, don't mind this. And I guess they've got a little bit of place, but in general, if you're after a spirit, I mean, you can buy a bottle of Buffalo Trace whiskey for 20-25 quid in the UK. So why would you spend, because this takes a long time to do the full, the fermentation. You're talking a minimum of 2 weeks, if not longer, to make sure that the yeast gets all of that sugar. Then the filtering and the charcoal filters and bits and pieces like that, you're talking another couple of weeks. And then there's the flavouring and getting that all nicely mixed in. You're talking about 6 weeks to 2 months potentially before you can even sample this. And 6 weeks of your time, is it really worth not going to the shops and just buying yourself a bottle of whiskey? But if you want to have a go and experiment it, fine. But something I would also say is that a lot of the time these spirits that you're homebrewing, they don't hold the flavour that well either. I found them to pick up, although you when you do all the filtering, you're trying to get any kind of yeasty flavours out, but they all do start picking up the same kind of taste with them, unless you kind of stick in a load of sugar again at the end, hopefully a non-fermenting one. But yeah, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. If anything, I'll tell you to go back into the archives and review some of my old videos where I'm going to be telling you that these are the best thing in the world. But I won't be doing this again. And as I say, I don't think it's worth that many people's time and effort to get this done. So that's the 5 things that I don't think anyone should be spending their money on with regards to home brewing. It's just my opinion. I'm sure I bought a series of other things that you probably could say aren't worth the money or worth the effort, but they're the main ones for me that I definitely wouldn't do it again if if I had the chance to do all this over. So anyway guys, that's my first ever top 5 or list based video. Maybe it was of use, maybe it wasn't. In any case, take it easy guys, and I'll catch you next time.